What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday, December 8th, 2023, and we are here for the weekly live stream here on the Touring Your Brain Reloaded channel. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go ahead and smash that like button, hit that share button so you can send it out to all of the people on your various social media platforms. Shout out to all of the members of the channel. Shout out to everyone who is on Patreon, who's a patron on Patreon. Shout out to those who follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and those in the Discord, and everybody who is here so far in the chat. We have a lot to discuss today. And when I say a lot, I do mean a lot, because I already had a long lineup of topics to discuss, and it was so lengthy. It had to be damn near 20 topics. And then on top of that, it was some more stuff that came out within the last maybe hour that I just kind of threw in there. So we gonna be here for a little bit, but I'm sure y'all don't mind that, because I'm sure y'all maybe some of the stuff that just came out y'all may not have heard yet. And some of it you may have, and y'all probably hoping I'm gonna talk about it, and hopefully I'm right on par with what it is that y'all are hoping I'm gonna discuss. Before we get into it, let me go ahead and acknowledge the people who are here so far in the chat. We have Hacksign KT, Val Williams, Volvo to Love, Maggie, Letitia, Darlene, Denise, Tawana by any means necessary, Queen of Spades, Wallow J, Renee, Only Us. Oh, I like how you did that. Only Us. I like that. Stay Positive. Val Williams, Lana L, DSM Sinister, Carla Locker, the Troublemint twins are in the building. Iron Will, Bot Boy, Zarp, and David O. Shout out to everybody that's here so far. Again, please be sure to go ahead and hit that like button. I would definitely appreciate it. And also JB Easy. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff that we are going to be talking about today. I have so many tabs open, it don't make no sense. But we're going to get through all of them. And we got Jonathan Richardson in here as well. And it's funny you type that, because that's actually going to be one of my topics. Let's see, we got Blair in real life. Shout out to you and welcome. But how has everybody been? I hope everybody has had a good week. The first full week of December is complete. Can't believe it's like we are almost at the end of the, well, we are pretty much at the end of the year, but it's just crazy how fast this year has gone and so much stuff. Oh, by the way, those of you who was in my live stream that I did when I was talking about the documentary Murder in Boston, the first episode, did anybody who didn't get a chance to watch the first episode when I was talking about it, did anyone go and watch it? And if you did, let me know what you thought about it, because I will be covering episode 2 on Tuesday, because the episodes air on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Max. So if you did get a chance to watch it after my review, or my review convinced you to go and watch it, let me know in the chat, and also tell me what did you think about it. I know it was a hard watch, trust me. Let's see who else we got in here. We got Shamika in here. We have Sam in here. Sam, you'll find out, and it's not necessarily what he did, it's more about what this particular publication did. But because his name is attached to it, I just decided to put his name in the title. But it's more so what this publication did. But you'll see what I mean. As a matter of fact, if you watch Afro Elite, he actually did a whole video talking about this same exact topic. We got Cosm Fury in here. We got AW1, Retro Gemini 99. Give it about 2 more minutes, and we're going to go ahead and get started with this thing. I can tell you right now, out of all the topics that I'm going to talk about today, I think 3 of them for sure are going to be the ones that y'all are going to like. The rest of them is going to, definitely make you feel some type of way. Jay Barrett, what's going on? Salute to you. What's going on, DC Precise? John Konu in South London, UK. Shout out to all of my people who are watching this stream from across the pond, who are in different time zones, because I know you are in the UK, so I know you are well in, y'all are well into the probably the next day right now as you're watching this. Well, not well into the next day, but it's early morning. Y'all are in Saturday. It's December 9th. I'll put it that way. Let's see. Got Albert Nelson. What's going on? What's going on? Got about 10 more seconds because I can see the timer right here, and then we will go ahead and get into these topics. And like Jay Barrett said right there, make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. All right, y'all. So we are going to go ahead now and we're going to get started with these topics. And as y'all know, if there's ever any positive stories, any positive melanated stories out there that we want to talk about first, we want to make sure we go ahead and get those out of the way. And none better than to start with than this story right here coming out of Chicago. Now, it's funny because mainstream media loves to talk about Chicago all the time for whenever there's something they could try to throw on the black people in a negative way. But they never like to talk about the stuff out of Chicago when it's a positive story, such as the one y'all are about to hear right now.
STEM and STEAM, we're a team. Just a little work, you can accomplish your dreams.
Dorothy Tillman says her campers sing this every day during her summer program. It's a program she started at just 14, and it's her dream coming to life.
I felt like I either had to be in an arts program or a STEM program. I never felt like I got both at the same time. And so integrating those and making it so they know like the right brain can't work without the left brain, I feel like is what makes it like different.
The now 17-year-old just defended her dissertation to receive a doctorate in integrated behavioral health from Arizona State University. She says she's using her education to build up the Dorothy Genius STEAM Leadership Institute.
I think the quality is a lot better than the quantity. And so making sure I harp on curriculum.
It's a curriculum full of science, math, tech, and the arts.
Like flowers before the
Some of Dr. Tillman's campers have gone on to start their own businesses, while 14-year-old Tridia Davis is just getting her dream started.
And they show us, how to make the music and the beats. They show us the process of writing and all types of different things. And it's just really helpful.
Davis is already taking AP classes as a high school freshman, trying to follow in Tillman's steps.
I want to join and be a counselor. I want to be one of those people that benefit the other kids while also working on my career.
Just like her mentor, who finds time to have some fun too.
I know for my birthday, I want to go to Amsterdam.
While still dreaming big.
I think being sure of yourself to the point where nobody can shake that. Nobody can shake the way you think about yourself and your goals.
Jasmine Miner. ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Now, why doesn't mainstream media talk about this more? They love to talk about Chicago a lot, but they overlook these type of stories. So the young lady in this video, the one wearing the glasses, her name is Dorothy Tillman, and she earned her PhD at the age of 17. As a matter of fact, let me be respectful of her and say Dr. Dorothy Tillman. This woman has her doctorate at the age of 17. Let that sink in. And yes, Iron Will, they have been watching Sister Act 2, because when I heard that song, all I can think of Sister Mary Clarence, Lauryn Hill and all of them. Classic, very good movie. And it's crazy because that movie is 30 years old. That movie came out in 1993, which predates all the people, the kids in this video, because all of them were born in the 2000s. So this movie predates them by at least a decade. But definitely shout out to her for earning her PhD at the age of 17 and starting a program to help other kids to strive to get to where she is, or maybe even exceed higher than that. But again, this happened in Chicago, and mainstream media is not going to talk about this because it's positive. But that's fine. We don't need them to talk about it. We'll talk about it. Aaron, I didn't mean to make you feel old. Listen, I was 4 when Sister Act 2 came out. I was 4. So, yeah. No need to feel old. I'm kind of, well, let me just stop. I was about to say something. I don't want to offend nobody. But definitely shout out to her and shout out to the kids that she's helping. And the fact that she's on the ground running at this young of an age so soon Do you know, first off, do you know how long it takes for the average person to get their doctorate? And she got it at the age of 17. That's what makes it even more impressive. Do you know how many years of schooling you have to do in order to get your doctorate? And she got it at 17. Really let that sink in. That's years of schooling, and she did it in probably less than half the time. So I also have to attribute this to her parents. Her parents raised her right and made sure she was doing all the stuff that needed to be done in order to achieve this goal. But shout out to her, and I wish her and her program much success in the future. Now that we've gone through that, and that was the only melanated or black excellence story of today, now let's get into the nonsense. And this one right here, what a way to start this off. Then talk about what happened in Vegas. I don't have to ask y'all in the chat, what are y'all did y'all hear about this? Because listen, who hasn't heard about this? But let me go ahead and play the news clip, and we'll go ahead and get started with it.
This morning, new video showing unimaginable terror on campus. Police hunting for a mass shooter on the move. Students, staff, and faculty inside UNLV's business school gripped by fear as shots rang out.
The gunshot was so close. I feel like he's coming in, and the only thing you can do is praying that he doesn't pick this room.
Last night, the community coming together in a first attempt at healing.
Let us find comfort in each other's presence.
Police say the suspect, 67-year-old Anthony Polito, opened fire on the building's 4th floor, shooting 4 faculty members, 3 fatally. 64-year-old Professor Jerry Chang, 39-year-old Assistant Professor Patricia Navarro-Velez, and a 3rd faculty member who police are not naming until family is notified. The lone survivor, a 38-year-old visiting professor, is stable. Authorities say Polito applied for a job at the school, but was not hired.
We're still learning a lot about this suspect and still trying to understand motive.
He previously worked at universities across the Southeast, touted his membership in Mensa, the High IQ Society, and was prone to posting conspiracy theories on his personal website. Investigators say the shootings were targeted.
The suspect had a list of people he was seeking on a university campus.
Authorities releasing this video of the gunman's shootout with police moments before he was killed. Business law student Caleb Melise was in class when he heard shots.
Fight or flight starts to kick in.
Just a few years ago, Melise says he was also at the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history, the 2017 Las Vegas Music Festival that left 58 people dead.
I feel like I'm in the wrong place, wrong time sometimes, but I'm glad that I'm able to walk through it.
Deep wounds in a community now searching for a way forward.
A lot of souls are going to be hurting for a really long time.
Homeward bound again.
And originally, authorities very worried. They say the suspect mailed out 22 letters to his targets, at least one of which containing an unknown white powder. They've since found that powder to be harmless. Craig?
All right, so y'all just heard that right there. And this was a major story that, of course, happened within the last day, because it happened yesterday. As a matter of fact, I believe it was 2 shootings that happened yesterday. And I'm going to talk about the other one later on in the stream, probably towards the end. So, yeah, you had this man who was, and by the way, to those who didn't catch it, they did eliminate the threat. They didn't take him in alive. Anthony Polito, 67 years of age. He applied to he applied to this school. He got rejected, and that was pretty much the motive as to why he did it. So because he didn't get hired by this university to work at this school, he decided that he was going to go ahead and shoot the school, well, find his intended targets. And when and the thing is, when I was really hearing the details of it, I knew in the back of my mind that this had to be a targeted attack, because they said that he sent letters specifically to certain people, and he went and he took out the people that he sent those letters to, with the exception of one. Then they said he had a shootout with the police, and that's when they ended up killing him. And my thing is this. He's 67 years of age. I'm trying to figure out, why isn't he retired? Most people around that age range usually are retired. So I'm trying to figure out, why was he trying to still be working? But then notice it said that he was working at various colleges across the Southeast, which means it says to me he could not keep a stable job. So what I would probably be doing if I was UNLV, the University of Las Vegas, is contacting those other schools he worked at and finding out why he got removed from these other schools. Because why are you traveling to all of these different schools? Because a lot of times, if you are a good employee or a good professor, like say at a school, they'll keep you on for a long time unless they have to tell you, oh, we can't work with you anymore because maybe a budget cut or something like that. But why were you traveling to all these different schools, especially if you got a degree from Mensa? So now I'm trying to figure out, why can't you stay stable? It seems to me that there may have been some issues with previous schools that he's worked at. But the thought of you just going around taking somebody out because you got rejected from a job, that's crazy. Imagine if a lot of people had that mindset. Listen, the population would drop drastically, because people get rejected from jobs all the time. You just take the L and you keep it moving and go to the next one. And like I said, when I heard about this, I did immediately think about what happened in 2017. And I'm glad they mentioned it in this news clip with Stephen Paddock and doing what he did. And what's interesting about that is Stephen Paddock was in the same age bracket, kind of, sort of, when he did what he did. Because I believe Stephen Paddock was in his 50s when he did what he did back in 2017. This guy was 67. Today's musing says Mensa isn't a school. Well, forgive me. I've heard of Mensa before. I don't know why I thought it was a school, but I have heard of it. And like I said, you have to be very, very intelligent when it comes to that. And he probably thought that with all his intelligence and his so-called high IQ, that he was a shoo-in to probably get a job at this school. Doesn't that remind you of affirmative action? With a particular group? Just throwing that out there. But yeah, that's that story right there. I'm glad they didn't take him in alive. But let's move on now to the next story. And this story is coming out rather close to home for me. And some of you may or may not have heard about this, but this is coming out of Arlington, Virginia. I know I have somebody in here, I think, that follows me who lives near or around this area. But there was this very bad explosion that happened in Arlington a couple nights ago. So I'm going to play this news clip so y'all can hear what this is all about.
Back here at home and new at 11, we're staying on top of the devastating explosion that leveled a home in Arlington this week. Tonight, fire investigators are no longer in that neighborhood. Roads are back open, and neighbors who have not been able to return to their homes, well, they finally got to do that tonight. Our Katie Lusso is live on North Burlington Street. And Katie, neighbors you're speaking with say, they're relieved here, but they're also really frustrated.
Yeah, tonight they're grateful to be back in their homes, but now they're also dealing with another issue. These cones right here, they're there for a reason, because they tell me this dead-end street, it's a very small street, has become a magnet for people wanting to catch a glimpse of what unfolded here. Now tonight we're here with their permission and their message: stay away.
Go away!
Gavin Johnston has had enough.
You lost, bro.
All afternoon and into the evening, a non-stop stream of drivers.
Here to check things out, huh? You having fun?
Stopping along North Burlington Street to catch a glimpse of where Monday night's explosion happened. Johnston and his neighbors were evacuated Monday and only allowed back home Thursday afternoon.
We just got home. We're going through our fridges. We're just getting our power and electricity and heat back on.
But now he says they're also dealing with a tourist situation.
You donate to the GoFundMe for the family who lost their house, since we're a circus to you.
People are coming from all over with Maryland plates, clearly just to get a looky-loo at what's going on.
He says he and his neighbors have already been through so much. On Monday, he was on his way to the grocery store when he noticed something was off at his neighbor's home.
But before I left, I noticed, at the end of the street in the cul-de-sac, that there was trash and debris and clothes all over the power lines. And I took some photos hours beforehand. The Safeway is like 300 meters away. And I grabbed like 2 ingredients, and before I even made it back to my truck in the parking lot, flares were going off, and I saw red star clusters. I was like, something is very, very wrong.
He says he didn't know much about his neighbor.
James Yu has been an absolute recluse. The house has always been boarded up with plywood covered in tinfoil for a long, long time.
Tonight, as they wait to learn the exact cause of the explosion, they are begging people to stay away.
This is a neighborhood with real human beings, with real lives. Please stay away. This is not some sideshow or a circus.
Now, unfortunately, not every neighbor was able to go back home. One neighbor in particular, not able to go back home because their home is now a pile of rubble. A GoFundMe page, it has been started for them. And as you can see right here, that goal they had at $200,000, well, they've surpassed that goal. They've now raised more than $203,000 for this family. But again, they lost everything. So they are trying to make sure they get back on their feet. We've put a link to the GoFundMe page up on WUSA9.com. In Arlington, I'm Katie Lasso. WUSA 9.
Feeling for that family. Also feeling for Gavin. You could really, feel his deep frustration with everything that's unfolded.
All right, so y'all just heard that news clip right there. And yes, this happened in Arlington. Arlington, for me, is, depending on traffic, if there's no traffic, you're talking about at least maybe a 20-minute drive. Probably about a 20-minute drive from where I currently reside to Arlington is about 20 minutes. For me, if there's traffic, maybe about an extra 10 minutes. So you're about 30 right there. Now, despite the man having his child out there with him, because I would not have had my child out there with me with that, I can understand the frustration of having people just drive around to catch a glimpse of a home that exploded. Like, what? Why would you treat that as a tourist attraction? And that causes traffic. Like that would annoy me personally, especially after witnessing something like that. And then especially because another house ended up getting destroyed with it. You know what that reminded me of looking at that explosion? It reminds me of Move in Philadelphia back in 1985, but only difference is the explosion came from inside the house and not from the external with a duffel bag filled with C4. Now, to my knowledge, the person that they were looking for was a man by the name of James Yu. It was an Asian man. And apparently they had a warrant out for him for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden, the house explodes. And I think they said it came from a flare. Like he shot a flare off in the house. It hit something that would cause an explosion. And then that's what ended up happening. One of the other things that I heard, of course, is there was inside the house. Of course, he did not survive. And well, let's just put it this way. When they went in there to discover the remains, they found a piece here and a piece there. Y'all can pretty much put that together. He wasn't whole. Let's put it like that. So I'm sure there's still going to be a very thorough investigation into that, but they really didn't go into much more detail past that point. So we don't know what this warrant was for, why they were looking for him. But apparently it must have been something intense because he was not going to allow that to get out, nor was he about to be taken in alive for questioning. So it looks like to me he basically cut off a bunch of loose ends, him being one of them. Iron Will said to recover this the other night. He said he mentioned PC people being in control of everything or something like that. Apparently he didn't like PC people. Well, like I said, I really don't know. I have to probably look into it a little bit more if I care to want to do that. But yeah, when I saw that, like many of y'all said in the chat, it did look like something that came straight out of a horror movie. And it really did. It really did look like not a horror movie, but an action movie. Sounded like it, looked like it, all of that. Jay Barrett said, I heard his last name and I knew it was a quote unquote model minority. Yeah. When I saw that last name, I knew exactly as well. I didn't even have to see a picture. I don't even know if they have his picture up here, but they did have it floating around somewhere. But when I heard that last name, I knew it was as well. All right, let's go on to the next story. And this is one where somebody was asking me in the chat about what happened with Bad Bunny and what's going on with him. And I think they ended up looking it up and they found it out for themselves. So Bad Bunny, and let me just put it this way. I'm going to try to be fair with this. Forbes has lost their mind if they expect us to say that Bad Bunny, of all artists, is the quote unquote new king of pop. Excuse me? No. And why is it they keep trying to shun Michael Jackson with all these other artists, especially a lot of these non-black artists? Like they did it with Taylor Swift consistently. Now they're doing it with Bad Bunny. And now Forbes is trying to say, oh, he's the new king of pop. Since when? I couldn't even name to you one Bad Bunny song. I couldn't name you a whole catalog of Michael Jackson, though. If Bad Bunny was to come on the radio right now, I wouldn't even know who it was. But if a Michael Jackson song came on the radio, I know exactly who it is within like the first 2 seconds. But Forbes, they must got some people over there who are either ski sloping it up with Hunter Biden, which, by the way, I have heard about what's going on with him, or they have a wicked, dry sense of humor. So it says Bad Bunny is Forbes' new king of pop, and Michael Jackson fans erupt in fury. In the dynamic realm of music, the indomitable Bad Bunny, aged 29, has emerged as a prominent figure, gaining global recognition for his prolific career. Last October, he released the album, and I'm not going to pronounce it, marking yet another milestone in his meteoric journey that extends beyond music into the realm of cinema. Recently, Forbes magazine featured the Puerto Rican artist on its cover, igniting controversy by dubbing him the new king of pop, a title famously associated with the late Michael Jackson. Forbes commends Bad Bunny as a creative force, emphasizing his ability to turn anything he produces into a worldwide hit, as if Michael Jackson hadn't been doing that since he was a kid with his brothers in the Jackson 5. And this was back before streaming was a thing. That's the thing. This is why a lot of people believe streaming completely ruined the music industry. If you took away streaming, a lot of these artists today, like a Bad Bunny, wouldn't have a career. Many of them would still be on SoundCloud. Streaming literally allowed a lot of these mediocre artists, if you want to call it that, to get a rise in the industry. If you took away streaming, many of them would not have a career. The feature delves into the artist's significant accomplishments, highlighting his status as the most played artist on Spotify with a staggering 35.9 billion plays. Notably, his YouTube channel boasts over 32 billion views, surpassing renowned artists such as Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, and Taylor Swift. Described by Spotify's music director Jeremy Ehrlich as deeply entrenched in culture, Bad Bunny is recognized for defining popular culture and expanding regional music to a global audience through streaming services and social media. Like I said, Michael Jackson did all of that before streaming was a thing, and even with streaming now, he's still surpassing a lot of the people that's in the industry coming in right now. His album has achieved the distinction of being the most listened to album of all time on Spotify worldwide. Look at what they're limiting it to. Spotify. Michael Jackson is beyond Spotify. He's beyond all these streaming platforms where you can stream music from. But they keep going back to Spotify with Bad Bunny. For Forbes, Bad Bunny epitomizes the modern pop idol, a global artist leveraging streaming platforms and social media to captivate billions of listeners. His versatility extends beyond music, as evidenced by his foray into the wrestling scene, appearances in Gucci ads, and collaborations with brands like Crocs, where his shoe line sold out within minutes. However, Forbes' decision to crown Bad Bunny with the King of Pop title has sparked polarized reactions on social media, as it should. Given the historical association of this title with Michael Jackson, fans of the iconic pop artist have vehemently contested Forbes' opinion. The debate continues to unfold across various platforms, reflecting the diverse perspectives within the music community. I'm sure even people who are diehard fans of Bad Bunny, whoever they may be, would, even if they have a brain, would even argue that this is absolutely ridiculous. Shout out to Win Loser Rug for the $4.99 super chat. He said black folks set the bar and they hate it. Exactly, especially with Michael Jackson. That man set the bar so high and people can't even touch it with the hair on their knuckles. And they hate it. This man has been gone since 2009 and is still breaking records. I talked about one last week. He has his third song on YouTube that has streamed over 1 billion views. And he's about to have a fourth one that'll most likely could happen next year. But see how they keep trying to erase black people out of, I guess you could say in this case, out of pop culture. Listen, Michael Jackson moonwalked so the rest of these artists could even try to run. Let's just put it that way. But Forbes, Bad Bunny will never, ever, ever be the new king of pop. Well, I like to call Michael Jackson the king of music because I always said that he expand various genres. But since they wanted to say it like this, he will never be that. If you want to give him another title, give him another title. Don't be trying to hand off titles to people that it's not associated with. I think I talked about this when I was talking about how they try to do the same thing with The Weeknd. I said, let The Weeknd stay in his lane. Let him do his thing. If Michael Jackson is an inspiration, and it's pretty obvious that he is, that's fine. However, stop with these comparisons. What's going on, PG? Because I can guarantee you most of the people in this chat right now, number one, couldn't name you one Bad Bunny song, or two, know who Bad Bunny is. And I'm going to keep it honest with you. If it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't even know who he is. But let's now move on to the next story that's coming out of Florida involving this senator named Blaze Ingoglia. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, Blaze Ingoglia. Anyway, he is a senator out of Florida, and he actually proposed an amendment that would ban reparations for descendants of slaves. You heard that correctly. This dude literally is trying to propose an amendment to ban reparations for the descendants of slaves. It's very specific. It's very specific. I think Lisa Cabrera talked about this on her channel. But let's go into it. A Tampa Bay area senator proposed a Florida constitutional amendment that would ban reparations for descendants of slavery. Republican Senator Blaze Ingoglia, who represents portions of Hernando, Citrus, Pasco, and Sumter counties, filed Joint Resolution SJR 582 on Monday. If enacted, the resolution would create a new section in Article X of the Florida Constitution that reads, "The state, a county, a municipality, or any other political subdivision may not pay compensation in the form of reparations to an individual who is a descendant of an enslaved individual who lived in the United States before December the 6th, 1865. Like I said, it is very specific. He is literally telling you, Black people, foundational Black Americans, if this passes, don't you ever think you are going to come to us demanding reparations. Now, keep in mind, when I did my Black Massacre series, there were a couple towns in Florida that got destroyed down there. Albeit it happened afterwards. But guess what? They didn't get compensated. I'm telling you, let them talk long enough and they will always tell on themselves. The measure has two big hurdles to clear before becoming a law. First, it must pass the Florida legislature with 60% of the vote in both chambers. If it appears on the 2024 ballot, 60% of Floridians must vote affirmatively to add it to the Constitution. The state of Florida has taken actions in the past that could be considered reparations. In 1994, the state paid elderly survivors of the 1923 Rosewood Massacre $150,000 each and set up a $2 million scholarship fund for the descendants. Florida was just one of few states to create such a program. $150,000, they should have gotten way more than that, considering if you adjust for inflation, it would be way more than that, considering how much that town was probably generating during that time. The rural Levy County town was once home to a prospering black community, but it was destroyed by a white mob in January 1923. 6 black residents were killed, though some eyewitnesses claim dozens more died. The survivors were forced to flee their homes, fearing for their lives. In 2008, Florida lawmakers passed a resolution formally expressing regret for the state's shameful history of slavery. It did not use the word apology, according to a New York Times report. Why would they apologize? They have nothing. They're not. I wouldn't even accept that apology. It wouldn't even be genuine. And it's crazy that they wouldn't even do an apology, something that would cost them nothing. Earlier this year, Ngaglia sponsored a bill titled the Ultimate Cancel Act that would eliminate the state Democratic Party. It died in the Ethics and Elections Committee. Yeah, this guy's a tyrant. They need to find a way to get him up out of there. And the thing is, he lines right on up with Ron DeSatan with that line of thinking. But like, really let that marinate. He is proposing an amendment to ban reparations, something that is old, a debt old, and he's proposing to ban it. Whenever there's a discussion of money and finances that deals with black people who are owed something financially wise, here they come trying to ban it. As a matter of fact, shout out to Harvey over at Your World, because he did a video yesterday talking about this guy. I forgot his name. It was a PC guy who went on Roland Martin. And he mentioned Black Lives Matter out of the blue for whatever reason. And it has something to do with Visa. And he got upset because it mentioned Black Lives Matter in Visa. As you know, Visa deals with money. It's one of the most well-known merchants, dealing with finances in the world. Like, for the most part, a lot of people, if you have a debit or a credit card, it probably is a Visa card. Under the Visa brand. Shout out to Queen Now for the $20 super sticker. I appreciate it. Whenever there's a discussion of money or anything that will benefit black people on a finance side, whether it's business or whatever the case may be, school or whatever, here they come to interject and interfere and throw salt or throw fire or throw gas on it. Because they want us to be in a perpetual state of being beneath them. And when I say beneath, I'm talking not only beneath them, but every other group that's underneath them as well. No matter what, they always want us to be at that bottom tier. And if we're at the bottom tier financially, we'll be at the bottom tier for everything else. Because once you get your money up, then that's when you start to, be able to make decisions. People start to notice you. People start to listen to you. But if you don't, they don't care what you say. They don't care who you are. This, that, and the third. You don't affect change. You're invisible. You mean nothing. You have no importance. And they, like this person right here, this Ngaglia dude, is one of them. But anyway, let me move on to the next one. Now, this one's not necessarily a story, but it is a video that I thought was very interesting. So this is a clip from a recent NFL game with the 49ers that happened on December 3rd. And it involves the player Chase Young. Now, Chase Young, he used to play for the Commanders, but he just recently got traded to the 49ers. Now, I want you to watch this clip that's a 46-second long where he goes over and he greets his family. I believe it's his girlfriend, maybe an aunt, and his mother. And I want you to watch what happens when this PC female, whoever she is, tries to interject in a family moment. Now, before I play it any further, let me just preface this. This is his girlfriend right here in the red cap. I think this might be his mother or grandmother, and this might be his mother. Now, look at what this chick right here is doing. Now, pay attention to her, but also look at the girlfriend. The girlfriend's eyes tell the whole story. Okay, so you saw that, right? He's over there talking to his family. Now, I don't know who the other woman is who had the bucket hat on with the braids, but apparently she knows him as well because he did acknowledge her. Here you have this PC chick coming out of nowhere, literally trying to flag him down and patting him on the arm and grabbing his arm and all types of stuff like that. But if you look at the look on the face of his girlfriend, she looked over at her and cut her eyes. But she said, you know what? I'm going to keep it real professional because I'm not going to make this about me. This is about this is about her man, and she's not going to act out in public. But you could look at her and tell that she wanted to, like, literally wrap her hands around this girl's neck. And a matter of fact, this video went pretty much viral that they ended up making a news article out of it, which I did not expect them to do. I thought it was going to be one of those things, oh, they're going to treat it as this thing that happened or whatever the case may be. But they made a news article out of it. I don't have it up, but they did make a write-up about it. But this chick was so disrespectful. But of course, that's that PC female for you. She did not know this man. She could have just stood back like everybody, or she saw everybody else in the stand was just cheering and everything, kept their distance. Here she come, and most likely she didn't even sit down there, and literally just cannot start to come up and start touching on him and tapping him and everything like that while he's with his family. She had no shame, and I wouldn't be surprised if that chick was with her boyfriend or whoever she's with, because I doubt she went to that game alone. Yes, young nine. Yes, the other woman that was there did put her arm out. You saw that, but she did it so smooth that if you didn't catch it, you wouldn't have caught it. To try to block her without making a scene. D Yard said, did he try to move her hand at least? No, he didn't. But what if you notice? He moved down. He moved away from her because he probably saw this peripheral that it was a thing of it was a double-edged sword. Because if he tried to move her hand in a forceful way, then they would have said, oh, he's being aggressive. And listen, look at the opposite. This is a black football player, big black football player with locks. Imagine he aggressively moves this white woman's hand, how they would have tried to play that out on mainstream media. Like, really let that sink in. Imagine if his girlfriend went over there and popped her. Mainstream media would have ate that up. Notice how whenever it comes to mainstream media, black people have to quote unquote always be on our best behavior, yet PC gets to act out. How many people remember that video at that college game, I think it was in Florida, that happened a few years ago, where you had this PC girl or whoever she was literally acting out in the stands, and they had to carry her out of there because I believe she was intoxicated. How ironic that it was a bunch of PC security that carried her out of there, and one of them was a black security guard as well. She was acting out around all of them, but the one that she decides to slap was the black one. And that black security guard popped her so hard her head fell back like a Pez dispenser, and she was knocked out at the top of the stairs. Some of y'all probably remember that video. Knocked her ass right out. And they did a whole write-up and everything like that. They tried to charge him with assault, but they ended up like not charging him with anything because at the end of the day, they saw that this woman hit him first. She assaulted him first, and she was intoxicated. So I understand why, at the end of the day, why they didn't act out right there. But man, if there was no cameras around, they probably would have. But I saw like the smoothness, like you had the one woman stick her arm out to try to keep her from coming. He slides down the other way. He knew not to go the opposite, the same way he came, because he would have ran right back into her. So yeah, I just wanted to show y'all that video right there. And like I said, and some of y'all who are on Twitter most likely already saw this as well. Let's move on now to the next story. And this one right here is more of an update to what happened down in Florida with Ryan Palmer and what he did when he unfortunately murdered all those black people at that Dollar General. Because now, update, the victims' families are now going after the Dollar General. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this play. This is about a 4-minute and 45-second video, and I believe the person that's speaking is the attorney.
Here to announce today that we have filed this tragic wrongful death lawsuit in the terrible mass shooting that occurred on August 26 of 2023 at the Dollar General at 2161 Kings Road. This totally preventable accident took the lives of Gerald Gallion, 29 years old, who was simply shopping in the aisles of that Dollar General that day. Angela Carr, 52 years old, who was an Uber driver, dropping off her fare in the parking lot, who was shot just for being black. And Anol Ligeri, the 19-year-old clerk who was sitting behind the desk just doing his job that day. We have brought this case against several defendants, but I want to start with Dollar General in this case. As we all know, Dollar General is a large national company. In fact, the fastest retail giant in the United States of America. They have put profits over people for years. They have had over 50 murders at their properties across the United States. There is no company that has been fined more by the Department of Labor and by OSHA than Dollar General. They continually have assaults, violent batteries, attempted murders, robberies at their stores. In fact, police chiefs across America have been quoted as saying they are simply a magnet for crime. In fact, in this case, Anol Ligeri worked there, and they hid from him the crime history that was going on at this particular Dollar General. And he lost his life that day, as well as Ms. Carr and Mr. Gallion. And what do we know about whether this terrible tragedy could have been prevented? Well, we know it absolutely would have been prevented. And the reason we know that is the shooter went to the first dollar store, Family Dollar store, right down the street that day. Right down the street that day, he went there and he saw a first security van pull up. He saw the van, he had his backpack pulled out. He got immediately back in his car. He wasn't done. He went to Edward Waters College, where he got out of the car, started to put on his military style tactical vest, about to attack an HBU full of classes that had over 100 people in them. And thank God he was stopped by Lieutenant Antonio Bailey, who, as we know in the local community, is a hero, who he confronted him. And what did he do? He left. But unfortunately, he went right down the road to this Dollar General where there was no security. Even with their awful history that they have across the country, where everyone else had security that day, Dollar General had no security, which we know would have prevented this incident from at least from occurring there. And these families have lost everything. And they are here so that this never happens again.
Make no mistake about it, what Mike said was true. This lawsuit is being filed today because Angela Carr mattered. Jerian Gallon mattered. AJ Laguerre mattered. And this lawsuit is filed so their death are not just swept under the rug. We have ocular proof. And Mike, you and Ray, we are ocular proof, visual evidence that the presence of a security guard would have made all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. She would have her daddy. If that security, if Dollar General didn't put profits over people, she would have her daddy. Amisha would have her mother. Quartavius would have his brother. They would have their loved ones.
All right, so that's the whole thing right there. And shout out to Dana Mitchell for the $50 super chat. I greatly appreciate it. So you just heard from the attorney for the families. And of course, you know, they had to throw Ben Crump up in there. So I agree. Go after all parties involved. You know, all parties involved. And someone said in the chat too about the security at the campus basically just letting them go. They got to go after them too. Because that could have been prevented before he even got to the Dollar General. I know it's easy to go after, you know, Dollar General because like they're the bigger corporation and they're the ones with the money. And I see why they're doing that. But go after everyone involved, in my honest opinion. And I've noticed a lot of stores like that do not have security, except if they are in certain areas. If y'all notice, a lot of security that you will probably see at certain stores will be there if they are in, let's just put it on the table, in black areas. But if you go to a Dollar General in, say, a PC area or a suburb, they are not existent, which means they are left wide open for attack. But they'll put them in black areas. I'll use an example. Who remembers when the movie Straight Outta Compton came out in 2015? When Straight Outta Compton came out, they made sure to have extra security at a lot of these movie theaters that were in black areas, like were in near movie theaters in black areas. I know this because when I went to go see it, they were there. But they did not have them in majorly white areas. Yet what happened in Aurora, Colorado in 2012? Things that make you go, It felt like the early 90s again when they did that. And guess what? When Straight Outta Compton came out that weekend, there was not one report of one shooting or one violent incident that entire weekend that movie was in theaters when it first came out. But they felt that because it was a story talking about NWA and they had songs like F the Police, and it was going to draw attention to a lot of black people, whether they grew up listening to their music when they was around, or they got it, or maybe people of my generation got exposed to their music at a later date, that it just meant it was going to be a magnet for violence. But it wasn't. There was not one report of anything violent happening at any theater where they had beefed up security that was never there. Mind you, you would never see something like that before unless something actually does happen. They looked real stupid that weekend. Now let's move on to the next story. Now this one right here, everybody has heard about what happened out there in Alabama involving this PC female cop named Dana Elmore and her mega mind-shaped head.
Stand up. Right there on the front of the car. Stay straight.
I ain't doing bro. I got gun right there. I'm not doing that.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying what you saying. Oh yeah, fuck. I'm not. Oh my god. Okay. Down. Oh my fuck. Oh my god. Oh god.
You want it again?
No, man.
Shut the you was big and bad. Shut your
All he was doing was changing his tire. That's it. All he was doing was changing his tire. And I'm going to be honest with y'all right now. I'm going to be very honest with y'all. This is my first time actually watching this video. Because I could not bring myself to watch it beforehand and then have to watch it again when doing this stream. And you hear all that bass in her voice. She sounds like a straight up man. She sounds like a straight up dude talking to him. No femininity in her whatsoever. She walking around like she got balls of steel. And she was enjoying it. She was enjoying watching this man be in pain. She was enjoying feeling like she had some kind of authority. She was enjoying jabbing that taser into his back right there on his spine. I can only imagine what kind of pain he was going through in those seconds. And you want to know what's even crazy about this? When this first happened and this video first started floating around the internet, you had some people online thinking that this was a prank. You had people out there thinking this was a skit. They thought that he was just like this was something, you know, just to put on the internet to get people talking for attention. And what's even more wild about this situation is look at this first statement right here. A felony fentanyl trafficking charge against an Alabama man who was hit with a stun gun while he was handcuffed and face down on the hood of an officer's police car has been dismissed. They threw a felony fentanyl trafficking charge on him. And he had no fentanyl on him. I had saw somewhere where they had put down a laundry list of charges, apparently, of what he had because apparently he has a record, but they tried to stack it with more stuff that was non-existent. It says he still faces 3 additional charges that stem from his encounter with reform officer Dana Elmore on Saturday, but he's out of jail on bond. Because I believe that he was there with his brother. And I believe that the man tried to record the incident, but then the phone got knocked out of his hand, and then it picks back up when the person who was with him starts to record again. And that's when it picks back up. This was a visual, for those of you who do not understand, of modern day buck breaking. Like, really pay attention and listen to how she sounded when she was doing this. She got a kick out of it. She got a thrill out of watching this man be in pain and crying out. And these are the type of people that PC love. Until and if it happens to them, then it's a problem. They need to do a deep dive into her record, if they haven't done so already. Something tells me if she could have taken that man out that day, she probably would have did laps around those damn woods. Exactly, John. It just says, you said, just showing embracing villainy is the only answer. This story is insane. And you want to know what's so crazy? There are crazier and even more insane stories than this that exist. How many of y'all saw or watched Professor Black Truth's Moment of Truth this morning? With the Friday crime report he did on that cop that shot that 18-year-old out there in California. Thankfully, the kid didn't die. And he was bringing up the text messages where they was proud and, sounding like he was proud of doing what he did. That is the vast majority of PC in these police departments. No wonder PC bootlicks for them every chance they get. And I made sure to say that on Twitter the other day. Until it happens to them, they are fine. And even when it does happen to them, surprise, surprise, they will still be on the side of those dirty cops. Because in their eyes, they can do no wrong. But when it happens to us, they literally, this makes them, for a woman, it makes her wet between the legs. I'm not going to say what it does for a guy, but y'all know what I mean. Exactly, Juggernaut 171. He said it after putting out a whole bunch of text messages. He hates black people. There it was. It took you that long to get straight to the point. We guessed that from the previous text messages, but I'm glad you finally said the quiet part out loud. And those are the people they will still continue to let work. Or if they get quote unquote fired, they'll get transferred. Real women said they don't do nonsense. Wait, there's a such thing as police brutality. To them, it isn't, but when it happens to them, then that's when they want to cry about it. But I'm gonna try to keep a watchful eye on this story right here. But let's move on to the next story. Now, this one right here was a story that I had to insert in there because I just came across it today because it just got put out there today. The irony when I was talking about shootings, because guess what happened today about 2 hours ago? Ethan Crumbley was just sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for killing 4 students in a Michigan school shooting. When I was looking up or putting the tabs together for today's stories, this one was popped up right on the side. And what makes this even more interesting is that it was a black judge that passed down the sentence. Now, what they also need to do, if they haven't done so already, but I'm sure they are going to, is they need to get his parents, his mother and his father. Mother, father, raised by both parents. Hey, Larry Elder, you know, you keep going on this crusade of fatherlessness in America. We know you're talking about black dads. But here we have Ethan Crumbley, who was just sentenced to life in prison for killing 4 students at the school he attended, and he was raised by both of his parents. They were both in the home, and to my knowledge, his father also is no saint himself, because didn't he have a child with another woman that lives in Florida, but they all the way in Michigan? Talk about fatherlessness homes now. Because that child is going to grow up without a father. I bet Larry Elder did not talk about this when it happened, and he's not going to talk about it now with this outcome, with this sentencing. Ethan Crumbley's parents failed him immensely. When you look at some of the details about his parents, about his mother and his father, he didn't stand a chance. But like I said, I'm glad that they're holding his parents accountable also for what he did. They're not allowing them to just skate on by. Now, there are some people out there right now, most likely the people whose families of the victims are out there saying that while we're glad he's getting life imprisonment with no possibility of parole, they feel like that's not enough. In other words, they want him to get the chair. They feel this is capital punishment that he should have received. Either way you look at it, whether he got the chair or what he did get, he's done. He is done out here in these streets. He won't be back on these streets again. He probably won't see the street again. He will just have his 3 hots and a cot for the rest of his days. So this was the proper sentencing. He says, does Michigan have the death penalty? I have no clue. Can somebody in the chat who's from Michigan tell us, does Michigan honor the death penalty? Okay, Tia said they do not. So there you go. Denise, that answers your question. So this was the next best option. But I have a feeling that if they did, he would have been a candidate. If they went this route for him, then it would have probably been nothing for him to have the death penalty on the table. So that's the update with Ethan Crumbley. He's done out here. I think the only next thing we have to watch for when it comes to him is see what they're going to do with his parents. So let's move on to another story that's finally moving forward, and that is Hannah Payne. Who remembers Hannah Payne? I know it's been a long time since I've talked about her. It's been a long time since people in the new black media have talked about her because they've been keeping this story so under wraps for the last few years now. But Hannah Payne's trial is finally underway. Finally. Like I said, it got to the point where I stopped checking because I was like, okay, well, someone's going to just have to send me something as it pertains to her. And then when I find out, then I'll talk about it. Well, now that time has come and her trial, the murder trial, is finally underway. So let's see what they're talking about here. Key witnesses for the prosecution took the stand for the third day in the murder trial of Hannah Payne. Payne is accused of following, crashing into, scuffling with, then shooting and killing 62-year-old Kenneth Herring in 2019 after she witnessed him collide with another vehicle, which she should have minded her business. Cameron Williams, a truck driver, captured images of the encounter between Payne and Herring along Riverdale Road. I just seen her outside hitting on her window or his car door, and that's what made me just grab my phone, Williams recalled, adding that Payne was standing at the driver's side door, yelling, hitting on the window, and hitting on the door. He described there was some pushing back and forth with Herring still in the vehicle. That's when he pulled out his phone to record the incident as he moved past. When he heard the gunshot, Williams said he stopped. Something caught by Williams' recording was Payne holding a gun just outside of Herring's truck. Prosecutors also called to the stand a Clayton County police detective who went over the items found in Herring's truck. One of those items jurors later spotted in a police body camera's video entered into evidence were needles. Evidence of injuries Payne said she received during the tussle was also introduced. The first officer on the scene later would take the stand to describe what happened in the moments after he arrived. Who got shot? Who shot him? The officer could be heard asking several bystanders on body cameras. The video then shows him approaching Payne, who was on the phone, who casually held out the gun for him to secure. And then on, of course, the other side, they're trying to say that she acted in self-defense. But here's the thing. If she would have minded her Mayo Miracle Whip business, she would not be in the position she's in right now. This incident should have only been between Kenneth Herring and the truck that he collided into, and the person driving that truck. That is it. What made her think that her getting out of that truck or getting out of her car to deal with that in the way that she did was going to help anything? Like I said, if she would have just minded her business, this wouldn't even be a topic of discussion. She made it seem like he hit her truck. She didn't know him. She didn't know the truck that he hit. None of that. And if she was going to go over there, the only thing she should have done was to see if they were okay and maybe call for emergency, like, call 911. That's all. But the fact that she went over there and got into it with this black man, this elderly black man at the age of 62 at the time, and decided she was going to throw on her cape and dub herself super bitch is a problem. And then for them to try to say that she acted in self-defense, where? Her life was not in danger. Jay Barrett said, I thought for sure they said he was going through a medical emergency, hence why he could. Yes, I heard that too. I mean, I believe he was having a medical emergency, which is why he did crash into the truck. He wasn't sleeping or falling asleep. He wasn't under the influence of anything. I believe he was having a medical emergency and it caused him to crash. And I hope that is brought up in this trial, because that will definitely work against her defense. All it boils down to is Hannah Payne saw this black man crash into this white man, and she felt she had to throw the cape on and do what she felt had to be done, which was eliminate what she saw as a threat, which was this black man. Oh, she's been locked up since it happened. Like it's not like she's been on house arrest or anything like that. I remember, I think they tried to do that initially, but because of the outrage from the people at the time, they ended up putting her in. I think they ended up locking her up for her own safety, because they said, oh, no. If we leave you out and about, they're going to come after you. So I believe for her own safety, they ended up putting her in jail and leaving her there where she's still currently at right now, even throughout this trial. But yet they said it's the third day of the trial, so it's still ongoing. Of course, it's Friday now, so they will resume on Monday. So I will be keeping an eye on this to see what the outcome of it is, especially since it took them this long to finally go to trial. So now we're going to go into this next story, and this story just recently came up too, about this chick down in Georgia who tried to burn down MLK's childhood home. Let's see what they're talking about.
Place of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. doused in gasoline in an arson attempt. Tonight, one person is behind bars. What we know about them and the home damaged tonight. That is where we begin on News Edge at 11. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Tom Haynes. Atlanta police say that a woman is in custody after trying to burn Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth home to the ground. A Good Samaritan stopped the woman just before the disaster struck. Fox 5's Rob DiRienzo live for us at the scene tonight. Rob, what more do we know?
Tom, such a bizarre situation playing out here earlier this evening. The good news is, though, this could have ended so much worse. But thanks to those quick thinking actions from those Good Samaritans, everything is okay here. You can see things have quieted down from even within the last hour. Earlier today, APD, along with federal agents and national park agents, were out here earlier. Right now, there are just so many questions that still remain. We have some incredible video of this incident, though. I want you to take a look at this. Witnesses say that is the suspect in the act holding that red canister. The 26-year-old woman has been arrested, accused of attempting to vandalize Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth home here in Atlanta. This home here along Auburn Avenue has been undergoing renovations, so has been closed to the public for the last couple weeks. Witnesses told police the woman came up to the home carrying a gas can before 6 p.m. They say that she then proceeded to douse the plants and porch with what they say smelled like gasoline. The bystanders, who included 2 off-duty NYPD officers, jumped into action and pinned her down until APD showed. Later, they told cops they intervened when they saw her try to light a lighter.
Had a big 5-gallon gas can in her hand and was going like this over the bushes. So I figured she was, related to maintenance for the building or something, was just trying to water the bushes. But it wasn't coming out, and she seemed a little irritated and a little on edge.
If the witnesses hadn't been here and interrupted what she was doing,
Let me pause this right quick to address what he just said. Did you just say you thought she was out there watering the bushes with a red can? And if she was watering the bushes, she would be throwing the water in the opposite direction. Like, what? That made y'all know, when my intelligence is insulted, that is one way to rile me up. Watering the bush with a red canister and throwing it in that motion towards the house and not on the bush, which is in the opposite direction. She could have did that from at the bottom of the stairs.
I mean, it could have been a matter of seconds before the house was engulfed in flames. It was really about the timing and the witnesses being in the right place at the right time.
She finished dumping the gas and dropped it into the bushes. At that point, I called 911 on my phone and stopped recording.
And just within the last half hour, the King Center released a statement thanking first responders, saying, quote, "Fortunately, the attempt was unsuccessful thanks to the brave intervention of Good Samaritans and the quick response of law enforcement," adding, "Our prayers are with the individual who allegedly committed this criminal act." Now, police tell us the woman is facing charges of a criminal attempted interference with government property and attempted arson. She could also be facing more federal charges because this is a federally protected property. That's latest from here live in downtown Atlanta. Rob DiRienzo, Fox 5 News.
Oh, goodness, just so hard to believe. And thank goodness that home didn't go up in flames, Rob. Thanks for the latest. The home on Auburn Avenue dates back to 1895. Dr. King's parents moved into the home in 1926, and he and his siblings were all born there. In 1968, plans were made to begin restoring the home as a museum. The MLK birth home closed at the end of November for restoration work. It was scheduled to reopen in 2025.
All right, so you have, there it is right there. And by the way, in the late 90s, maybe the early 2000s, maybe 2000, I remember going to Atlanta with my family, and we actually toured the house. You know, that's when we actually went in the house and everything, walked around, they gave us a tour and everything like that, because it basically is a tourist attraction. And to those of y'all asking the question, was that they heard it was federal property, they just answered it for you right there in the news clip. It is federal property. It is owned by the government. So, which that means she, the person who did this, will face federal charges. So it ain't looking too good for her. And this is her picture right here, y'all. This is her mugshot. Her name is Lanisha Henderson. That is the person right there who went on to the property. And as that guy was saying, I thought she was watering the bush, but she was the one that was throwing the gasoline onto the house with the attempt to set it on fire. And to everyone else in the chat who was leaving the theory asking who sent her, that's a good question, because as long as I've known of this house, I've never heard a story where people have tried to do what she did. So I hope they throw the book at her. Whatever is the highest amount of charges that she can get. They said that she was charged with arson in the second degree and interfering with government property. Throw the book at her. Give her as many years as you can until you can't go any higher than that. That's how I feel about it. Let's move on now to the next story. And this one involves Michael B. Jordan. Now, if y'all been following me in the Discord, I think I posted this up in the Discord, but Michael B. Jordan was involved in a very bad accident with his Ferrari. Don't worry, he is okay. But the Ferrari, man, when you saw the picture of it, it looks so bad. It's amazing that anyone came out of that unscathed. But to my knowledge, I think somebody had wrote in the chat that the way that the Ferrari is set up, this brand of it, is that if you get into like a crash, it kind of wraps you up into like a cocoon to kind of protect you when that crash happens. That's what somebody told me. I'm not a car expert. Maybe someone in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. But they said that he reportedly crashed his Ferrari 812 Superfast into a parked Kia this past weekend. This is both cars were damaged, but the budget compact came out on top in this matchup. It says Michael B. Jordan just had a weekend that he will almost certainly like to forget. The Creed star wrecked his beautiful Ferrari 812 Superfast in Hollywood on Saturday night, according to TMZ. If that wasn't bad enough, the damage was a result of the actor colliding with a parked car. It says the crash is said to have happened shortly after 11:30 p.m. on Saturday night near the intersection of Sunset Boulevard and Beechwood Drive, according to local TV station KTLA. It was around that time that the actor and Ferrari enthusiast reportedly drove his blue V12 right into a Kia Niro parked alongside the road. Fortunately, no one was hurt in the collision, and the only property that sustained damage were the two vehicles. And I think they also, like, you know, I think they had to do like a breathalyzer test and all of that to make sure he wasn't intoxicated, but nothing came back and said that he was under the influence of anything. It's just the fact that he was driving his car very fast. And they said he hit a parked car. So I wonder, was he near a residential area? This kind of reminds me of, who was it? I can't think of the person. It was out in Vegas where they were driving very fast. And he was with his girlfriend. And he ended up he was doing like 70 in a residential area. I'm like, dude, you are dumb. You doing 70 in a residential? I think he was doing 70 in a residential area, and he ended up hitting this woman and her dog. Like, I think she was walking her dog, and he hit her. She ended up dying, and so did the dog. And I think he had his girlfriend in there with it, and they ended up losing control and crashing, but nothing happened to them. They just got a couple of scrapes and bruises. But unfortunately, that woman he hit, she died, and so did her dog. And they brought him up on a lot of charges behind that. Wallow J said it was Henry Riggs. Exactly, Henry Riggs. Now, PD Chicago, Paul Walker, his was a little bit different because he was in an open area with the car, even though he did lose control and he crashed and the car ended up exploding. But yeah, be careful when y'all are out there. If y'all are like, it's a fine if you are like car enthusiasts and whatnot. People love fast cars and whatnot, but also be very careful where you're driving at, because it's like, you may like these cars and everything like that, but you lose control of cars like that, it's hard to get it back into control. Real one says, does he need sympathy, or this just is an unfortunate accident? It's just an unfortunate accident that thankfully it's not like it didn't. First off, thankfully nobody was in that parked car, and two, thankfully he's not hurt either. Because like I said, I saw the picture of his car, and the side of it looks like a crushed beer can. So, you know, luckily, you know, no, there were no casualties. Because if there was someone in that car with how fast they said he was driving, it's a very good chance that Michael B. Jordan's career will probably be slowly declining. So all I'm going to say is this. If you have these fast cars, make sure that you're driving them on like open road. And if you are driving in a residential area, please drive within the speed limit and stop trying to show off. Don't be driving those 70 in the residential. That's it. That's all. Let's move on to the next story. Now, this is another story that came out today, as a matter of fact. Came out 2 hours ago. And I'm going to play this and see if y'all remember it.
Man seen on video hurling racist insults at his neighbors has now been indicted on a slew of criminal charges.
Jerseys, back up. Back up. Keep backing up. Back up.
You may remember this video from last summer showing Edward Cagney Matthews in a shouting match with a neighbor in Mount Laurel. It led to this wild protest as police arrested him for harassment. Now a grand jury returned a 15-count indictment against him, which includes stalking, drug, and weapons charges. Investigators say Matthews used a slingshot to shoot ball bearings and even smeared feces on his neighbors' cars.
Okay, so y'all just heard that right there. So I very much so remember this. I very much so remember this one. And I remember seeing them people go crazy out there. Man, listen, all them black people, it's like they send up a smoke signal to go to where his house was, and they was out there ready. So y'all saw in that clip, they was out there. It's like they went home and brought out refrigerated items to throw at this man. I mean, they had eggs, they had milk, they had water, anything of a liquid substance, and was throwing it at this dude when they went into his home and they got him and they carried him out. But as you can see, it says New Jersey man who went on a viral racist rant sentenced to 8 years in prison. So he will be doing time for what he did. And he's a very nasty, tacky person right there. Majestic said hit his ass with a jar of mayo. I wouldn't be surprised if someone did. But I remember seeing that and seeing, you know, black people will all come out there together and do what they did. That put a little smile across my face. He gonna have the nerve to come up to this black man's property and say all of that stuff that he said. And I'm not gonna repeat what the news clip said, but y'all heard it. And like Darlene just put in the chat, I feel absolutely nothing. Hopefully those 8 years are straight up torture. Tia said he should have got more than that for the biowarfare. I agree. He should have got more. I'm actually shocked that he got any time at all, especially 8, because, you know, sometimes they like to be very lenient. But either way, shout out to the people that came out and did what they felt they had to do to him, because that was an opportunity right there that they ain't going to get again. Maybe. But they seized the opportunity at the time and did what they had to do. And that was they probably felt that's as close as they were going to be to him. Now, you see how all those black people came out there and all they could do was just throw stuff at him? That's like a reverse of what our people had to go through during Jim Crow. That just clicked in my head. Think about what black people had to go through during Jim Crow when they were walking and they had to have police aside from them. And you had PC on both sides throwing things, spitting, and all types of stuff at them. Now it's reverse. And this guy had to be protected. Not so much, because I think it was only 2 cops there. While black people were surrounding him. And they were throwing stuff at him. All I can say is the ancestors were very proud that day. Let's move on to the next story. Now, the next story is two articles, but it is the last story, but they're split into 2 because one is talking about what happened, and the next one is talking about the update. And this is talking about the shooting that happened in Austin, in San Antonio, that also happened around the same time as what happened in Vegas, but they really didn't talk about it much. So this is this story right here. Hold on, let me.
More critical dots. APD called the Bexar County Sheriff's Office in San Antonio, saying the suspect here in Austin had some links to a residence on Port Royal Street in San Antonio. When officers arrived there, they found the bodies of the suspects, the parents, 55-year-old Phyllis James and 56-year-old Shane James Sr. Now, the Bexar County Sheriff told reporters a short time ago about deputies' previous interactions with the suspect, including a call in August of this year.
I wish there was more that the system could do for suspects like this man. It appears, by all accounts, he's suffered with mental illness for some years, from what the family members are telling us.
The Bexar County Sheriff's Office says James had been arrested last year for misdemeanor charges of assault. The victims, again, were parents and a sibling. He was released from jail 2 months earlier. Investigators also came to the home for yet another mental health episode call in August of this year.
And here's what else we know about the suspect, Shane James Jr. Today, U.S. Army Media Relations confirmed to us that James was in the Army from February 2013 until August 2015 as an infantry officer. He held the rank of first lieutenant and was not deployed during his service. Now, the Army would not tell us the reason for James's separation, citing privacy rules, but the Bexar County Sheriff says James was discharged over a domestic violence incident. This story is constantly evolving, and we want to have you give you all the latest details as soon as we get them. We have everything you need to know, from the suspect's information to the event timeline, for you on KXAN.
All right, so that's that part right there. So they say he was charged with capital murder where he killed his dad, because his name is Shane James Jr. Well, one of the victims being his dad. It said that he shot and wounded a bicyclist on West Slaughter Lane. Interesting name considering the circumstance. It says the suspect then shot an officer, and then it said he was arrested after being chased by the police. And like I said, all of this happened in a day. Now, this is his mugshot right here. Now, something else just recently came out about this a few hours ago. Let me go ahead and share this tab.
Six people are dead and 3 injured in a shooting rampage in Texas across 2 major cities, San Antonio and Austin. Police charged a 34-year-old man with capital murder after he allegedly went on a day-long string of killings, including taking the lives of his parents. Investigators say last year the gunman cut off his ankle monitor from a previous arrest for domestic violence. This past summer, police were called to the house for a mental health check.
Now, peep that. It said that he cut off his ankle monitor. I don't know about you, but anybody who has a mental health issue is not cutting off that ankle monitor. If you cut off your ankle monitor, that means you are well aware of what you're doing. Now, what I really wanted to give you update was this part. Texas shooting suspect Shane James tried to escape from jail after his arrest. It says the suspect on Wednesday pushed past a corrections officer who was opening a door to his housing unit at the Travis County Jail in Austin, according to Kristen Dark, a spokesperson for the county sheriff's office office. James ran into a hallway. The suspect resisted when corrections officers detained him, and he was ultimately restrained. Dark says the jail is a secure facility, and the suspect wouldn't have been able to escape the floor he was on, nor the building in general. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like someone who has a mental health issue. I'm just saying. They throw that out there at everyone or people that they feel like it can stick to. It's not sticking here. Now, like I said, keep in mind, Anthony Polito out there in Vegas and Shane James right here now in Texas. Both of these incidents happened, I think, on the same day, because I know I saw them both trending on Twitter at the same time. This man killed 6 people, including his own dad. I keep telling you, when they get them for one thing, they'll turn and spin that block and come right back around, and they'll do something even more heinous. And hence what we have right here. Imagine if they would have kept him locked up for the previous charge he was locked up for. This most likely would not have happened, or maybe it was just a disaster waiting to happen. But they said they got him on capital murder, so you know what that means. If he's found guilty, he's going to the chair, and we all know Texas honors that death penalty. I don't have to ask the chat if they do. I know Texas honors the death penalty. But with that being said, y'all, that is going to bring this stream to a close. I told you this was going to be a long stream because there was a lot of stuff to discuss. We've been on here for almost 2 hours. That is crazy. But I'm glad that everybody was able to come through. Shout out to everybody that contributed to the stream. Win, Loser, Rug Queen Now, and Dana Mitchell. I am glad that you and very appreciative that you supported the channel monetarily. Shout out to everybody that came through in the chat, those on Patreon, members, the people in the Discord, those on Instagram. I thank you. Appreciate you coming through so much. We will be back on here tomorrow where I will be doing the 11 a.m. Pre-recorded video. If y'all saw the premiere window, you already know what we're going to talk about. And I will be doing a live Triple P tomorrow on Kyle Rittenhouse's book, Being a Flop. So I know many of you are going to have a lot of stuff to say about that, but make sure y'all come through tomorrow to hear what I have to say. And of course, you know, with the Triple P's, I always drop the link and y'all can come up and say what y'all want to say about that. But y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy your weekend. I will see you on here tomorrow. Be safe and be one.